Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Beyond the Saga, where we explore all those stories outside of the Skywalker saga. I am Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Berg. Good evening, Hannah.
Good evening. How are you this evening?
I am great. Thank you for asking. As always, really a pleasure hanging out with you, talking books and comics.
Yes.
And we are going to talk about a trade paperback that has been out there for a while, but it's fitting because we are in the middle of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney Plus. And I thought, well, Hannah, have you read Obi-Wan and Anakin? Because we need to talk about that. So we are going to be talking about Obi-Wan and Anakin. A lot of people may not even know that this exists out there, to be honest.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it flew under the radar when it came out, because this was one of the early books that came out when Marvel got the label back. Once Disney, purchased Lucasfilm and started doing canon stories in 2015. So this came out the trade came out in July of 2016. So this thing's 6 years old almost. Written by the great Charles Soule, who we've talked about a lot with the Vader series, with High Republic, yes, because he wrote Light of the Jedi. The guy is a fantastic writer. He's big time in the Star Wars universe now. And so this is just a real short run, 5 issues. That they did, and it takes place a few years after episode 1. So I can see by the cover, it's young kind of Obi-Wan, young Anakin, and they go on an adventure here, and a lot of stuff happens in this thing. So overall impressions, Hannah, what'd you think about this book?
Well, I thought it was very well written. The artwork is fantastic. Once again, it's like screenshots of an action film.
Yeah.
We do have the main storyline, which is Obi-Wan and Anakin go to a planet where there's essentially a civil war happening, and they're trying to create peace. They're trying to figure things out like the Jedi do. Honestly, though, I didn't really care that much for that plot line. I was more interested about what was going on in Anakin and Obi-Wan's life. Anakin's at a point in his life right now where Palpatine is really taking him under his wing. And we're starting to see a lot of the influence Palpatine is having on Anakin when he's young, because this takes place before Attack of the Clones. Mm-hmm. I think you and I were discussing it was in between, roughly halfway in between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones.
Right.
So Anakin is facing this really big choice in his life, and Obi-Wan, and like Anakin's actually considering leaving the Jedi Order, and Obi-Wan is going through moments of doubt and shame almost, I would say, because he feels like he failed Anakin. The fact that Anakin is at this point in his life.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but I cared way more about that than I did the main story.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think, Charles Soule definitely writes, he writes action really well, mm-hmm. and his dialogues really well. And, I noticed this one, I felt like when I reread it, I felt like there was a lot of dialogue. I felt like there was a lot of words on every page, because there was a lot of discussion going on, especially with the people that they ran into on the planet. And I agree with you. It was just a weird setting, because they're not I don't think they're responding to a beacon or a message, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not a system part of the Republic. Like, there's no government, looks like, on this planet. There's no representative.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah. In fact, I believe they don't even have communications equipment really on this planet, right? Because
they never even heard of the Jedi.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, they said that they're Jedi, and they're like, well, what is that? So I agree with you. The situation, the plot of the story was a little blah, for me. I was, like you, very interested in what Anakin was going through, because again, we haven't seen this part of this point in time in his life. We really are just now kind of getting that with like Queen's Hope and with Brotherhood. We skip these 10 years. We're starting to get a little bit of it. Because we only really right now, in a way, I feel like I only know Anakin more so during the Clone Wars, because I've seen all that, and of course before he becomes Vader. So seeing these early conversations with Palpatine and these early lessons with Obi-Wan, like I actually want more of that. Like,
yes, absolutely. I almost wonder if you're going to have that much dialogue in it, just have the whole story be that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because to me, that other story, it actually, like, I'm not going to spoil away what Anakin ultimately decides.
Yes.
But there's at one point where Anakin makes a choice to do something and he thinks it's for good, but it ends up being for bad. And I thought that would push him out of the Order completely. And then later on, for some reason, he comes back to the Order. That's what I predicted in that moment when I read that. So you want to talk about turmoil, you want to talk about all of that. If you're going to have something full of dialogue, then I think I would prefer to just have it focus on those central moments.
Yes. No, totally agree. Yeah. Because and I think that's the beauty of, it is the beauty of how Charles Soule writes a story is he has several things going on with all of, it's not just one little story. Especially in the comics, he's, in the Vader series and stuff like that he's done, there's not just the Vader stuff going on. There's all kinds of different storylines going on. And that's kind of what this is like. There's so much going on with the people that he's dealing with the mystery of who sent the beacon, and what's going on in Anakin's head, what's going on in Obi-Wan's head. And at some point, they actually get separated. So it's like, I remember just flipping through this again, like, wow, there's a lot going on here. And again, a lot of discussion going on of what's going on, of what's happening. So, but if I were to pick probably my favorite part of this story, it is probably the time Anakin spent with Palpatine, because they do a couple flashbacks, like before this storyline takes place. And there's an interesting storyline where Palpatine kind of takes Anakin into the depths of Coruscant, and that was basically in disguise, right? They're not like walking around as chancellor. He's not walking around as chancellor, and that was interesting to see.
Oh, it absolutely was. And in that moment, that's when you really start seeing the seeds of doubt being planted. Mm-hmm. I mean, Palpatine showing Anakin, look, this is the real world. This is how it is in most of the galaxy. Yep. Oh, and look, the senators over there, yeah, they're not helping. They're adding to the problem. And it just makes Anakin go, oh, well, if the Jedi can't do anything about this and the senators are adding to the problem, who can you trust? Who is really there to help?
Yeah.
And it starts him down on that path.
Right. It does. It does, because you get to Attack of the Clones and then you start seeing, what's been going on these 10 years and the time that he's meeting with Palpatine there. He's talking about, your guidance more than my patience, and he's been guiding him like this whole time. And then when he's, sitting there with Padme on Naboo, and he talks about like, well, if they don't do what you need to do, you need to make them, and you can start seeing where this is coming from. Right. And that, which is really cool. So that his mind has been manipulated for these 10 years by Palpatine, and it's just completely oblivious, to what's happening, and not knowing that there's a Sith Lord trying to, make him feel different emotions, which is ultimately what happens. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I want more of that. You
Oh,
know,
absolutely. Because I don't know about you, but to me, it seemed like there was a very weird jump to where all of a sudden Anakin was willing to like full on believe, full on support Palpatine. And I think we need bits like this because we need to see Palpatine being, we tend to see Obi-Wan as like an older brother to
right?
Anakin. I
Yeah,
feel like Palpatine was his father.
that's a very good argument. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, because they as in like Filoni talks about how him and George, how George explained to him that that fight with Qui-Gon and Maul was the duel, what they call duel of the fates, right? It was the fate of Anakin. That father figure that Qui-Gon would have taken Anakin on a different path, probably to become the true chosen one, that he was supposed to be. But instead, him dying, yes, you're right. Like, then all of a sudden, Palpatine started becoming that father figure, and obviously you can see where that leads. So that's definitely, yeah, I definitely see that. Even though Anakin says like he's been Obi-Wan's been like a father to me. No, he's more like a big brother kind of thing. Palpatine has been that guidance, and unfortunately, it was the wrong kind of guidance.
Yeah.
So,
oops.
Yeah, oops. So yeah. So what else? Anything else stand out to you about this book?
I mean, honestly, I think you hit my favorite scene as well. Absolutely loved that, and would love to see more of Anakin and Palpatine interacting. Would absolutely love to see more of that.
Well, and talking again of the Obi-Wan series that's going on. I mean, Obi-Wan, there's not a lot of, at least that I can remember, I don't think, there's not a lot going on with him as far as internal struggles, I guess. I mean, he's struggling mainly with the situation that's happening on the planet. But to me, he stands out as he's a powerful Jedi. I mean, it seems like he's cool and collected. There's nothing that's really phasing him. He can see him like throwing guidance at Anakin, which is cool. I mean, he was very, I don't even know, the typical description of a Jedi, I feel like he was pretty Jedi in this.
Oh, he was. But I think there's a lot of subtext going on in the conversations that he's having. Like, maybe I was just reading into this too much, but when I was reading his conversations, I sensed that he was trying to ignore the turmoil happening inside of himself with Anakin and his feeling of failure. I feel like he was probably battling that a lot, but he was trying to push it aside because, you're not supposed to feel.
Right. Yeah. No attachments.
No attachments. So he can't be attached to Anakin, but he cares about Anakin. And so I sensed a little bit of that, but you're right. Honestly, I'm not going to, in the middle of the book, I completely forgot it was Obi-Wan and thought for a split second it was Qui-Gon.
Oh yeah.
Just by how he carried himself.
Yes. Yeah. Very much so. Totally see that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think he, he's the, I feel like he's the Obi-Wan that you kind of pictured, when we didn't see a past Obi-Wan and, except from A New Hope and what he was back then. Of course, then when you see episode 1 and 2 and 3 and you see the strength and the wisdom that he has, at this point in time, he's only been a Jedi Knight for a few years, right? He's not even, he was a Padawan in episode 1 still. So he's only been a Jedi Knight for a few years now, however long Anakin's been there. So he's technically still learning, but he's definitely exuding that power. And obviously he's become one of the strongest Jedis ever, obviously, for how much he's been able to survive.
Oh yeah.
So overall, I think it was a really cool book. Now, how does this how has this story, if at all, changed your perception of Anakin, Obi-Wan, for the films and whatnot? What does it do for you?
I mean, honestly, it just adds more to it. I mean, we're just going to be a broken record here, but you and I both said we wanted, and we're so glad we got to see some of Palpatine's manipulation in Anakin's earlier years. And also seeing Obi-Wan, while I prefer his more laid back, sarcastic self.
Yeah.
It just shows his growth where he thinks like, oh, I got to be stringent. I got to be like Qui-Gon, like just kind of straight as an arrow. Well, straight as an arrow, for as much as Qui-Gon didn't necessarily like to follow the rules, but he has to carry on a certain figure, and then he kind of grows into his own. And I wonder if Anakin really contributes to that. And it's really a give and take relationship. So I'd love to see more of Anakin growing up with Obi-Wan. Also would love to see more of Anakin interacting with Palpatine.
Yes.
What about you?
Yeah, I think my perception of Obi-Wan has always been like that, right? That it really hasn't changed. I think he's what I expect him to be at this point in time. I think Anakin, that does change a little bit. Like you said, we talked about it. It's like you're seeing those ideals being planted, and it's not something that just gets developed in episode 2 because his mom gets killed. That just kind of was a trigger, that set it all off, because he had those things in his mind. I think now we're seeing where they came from, and Palpatine's been putting in there from the beginning.
Well, I think Palpatine actually, like, there is one part towards the beginning, so it's not much of a spoiler, but there is one part that I think that's when Palpatine realized he has a temper, he has triggers. Is Palpatine, along with some of the Jedi Masters, are observing the Padawans training with lightsabers.
That's right.
And Anakin, does a stellar job. And he overhears some of the other Padawans going, oh, he's a slave to his emotions. Yeah, he's a slave. And Anakin loses it for a split second.
That's right.
And Palpatine saw that. So I think that's what made Palpatine go, okay, so there's some stuff I can work with here.
That's exactly right. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the master manipulator by far, not only for the entire galaxy, but shaping this 10-year-old boy to become your apprentice in the end. So yeah, that really added to, I think, my perception of Anakin during this time. And because again, like we've only had recently, in a way, we've had, him experiencing his time with Padme in the Queen's Hope a little bit. And then I'm kind of getting towards the end of the Brotherhood, so I'm getting what's going on there. But that's during the Clone Wars, so kind of know that Anakin at that point, so this is uncharted territory for these characters, and I hope that they can keep definitely expanding on this training that Obi-Wan is doing with Anakin. So Obi-Wan's got a comic series right now that's out. The first issue's out, but it is strictly focused on Obi-Wan throughout his years as a youngling, as a Padawan, and ultimately I think there's a part where during the Clone Wars, as a knight, and then later on. So not much probably interaction with Anakin in that one, but that is out there, and of course we'll talk about it as soon as all the issues come out. Okay, so what are you rating this one?
I'm gonna rate it a 4 out of 5, just because of the whole Anakin, Obi-Wan, Palpatine aspect.
Nice. Okay.
What about you?
I'm gonna go 3.5. Yeah, I'm gonna go 3.5.
I might agree with you. Actually, I might take it down.
Yeah, it's not as bad as a 3, or not that 3 is bad, but it's not a 3 and it's not quite a 4. So I'll go right in between.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay. All right.
Here.
All right. So yeah, but definitely worth checking out. I definitely think if you can get it, if you can get your hands on it. I don't know if this, I guess it's still selling. It's out there. Definitely the digital version you can find, but maybe you can't. I don't know if they're selling the trades anymore, but definitely check it out. It's Obi-Wan and Anakin, and it's worth getting, right? So,
especially with Obi-Wan going on right now.
Exactly. Can't get enough Obi-Wan right now. So
all Obi-Wan.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening and watching. Of course, listen to us on all the podcast feeds, watch us all over YouTube. And of course, if you want to support the show, we got our Patreon going on, patreon.com/InsideTheForce. Thank you to all of our patrons who are getting these episodes early. So for the littlest tier, you can start getting all of our episodes early. So go check it out. But we also have some merch on there if you get some of the higher tiers and some exclusive content. We've got a lot to do coming up. I know we got some commentaries we're going to start getting into. So, but I'm off to Disney. Well, I shouldn't time. I usually don't time these out, but I'll be going to Disneyland next week. So this will be out while I'm at Disneyland, but, and I know you're heading to Disney World.
That's correct.
So, yeah. So, we'll catch everybody up on our adventures too. During, are you going to Galaxy's Edge at all?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Pretty sure. Yeah. Think so.
Okay.
So.
I'm going to the West Coast Galaxy's Edge. So.
Yes, we are. So.
Oh, okay. Good. All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. See you guys next time. May the Force be with you.